Okay. Oh, Zachary Conan here. I actually don't have anyone that I'm talking to. This is the discussion about the Scream films, Scream franchise, particularly the first Scream film with you, my wonderful doting audience. Wow, I've just been compelled to do this conversation. Let me tell you a story. When I was in 5th grade, I watched Scream 1 and Scream 2 religiously. I believe that Scream 3 hadn't even come out yet. I watched Scream 1 and Scream 2, not nearly obsessive, a completely obsessive and incredibly devoted amount of times. So much so that I wrote down the lines of dialogue from the film. I memorized both of those films, Scream 1 and Scream 2, from beginning to end. I memorized them completely. And I still do to this day. I could probably recite the entire film to you, be one of those annoying people on the couches while the film's going on. But here comes the fun part of the story. So I wrote down all the lines of dialogue from the film and had my own screenplay that I would read and have fun with at school. And it was all handwritten. And, I guess the teachers went through my desk one day and found my manuscript, my DIY crazy 11-year-old Scream script. And I was brought to the principal's office having to explain myself. Well, I had to be evaluated by a psychiatrist because of Wes Craven, because of Neve Campbell, and because of Matthew Lillard and Jamie Kennedy. I had to be evaluated by a psychiatrist because I wrote down every word they said. I was obsessed with the film. I thought it was fantastic. So this love of mine, this fascination with this film, started at such an early age. And it's back. And it's back in a big way. I want to discuss Scream right now, very quickly, and just concisely go over the innovative qualities that it brought to horror. And because I don't think that Scream is very well respected within the horror genre, it is seen as simply trendy horror, which they're not wrong, but also go fuck yourself at the same time. I want my horror with Degrassi High. Degrassi High has to be somewhere. Incredibly awful teenage melodrama has to exist somewhere, and I love it existing in my horror films. I know that might sound like blasphemy to you, but the only thing better than melodramatic teen sobbing and hilarious overacting is having them be brutally murdered directly after that outpouring of, oh my God, hyper emotion. So, the innovative things it brought to the table, though, first and foremost, meta to the point of nausea. So, the horror genre was really not too sophisticated, I would say, before Scream 1 hit. And when Scream 1 infused meta, self-referential dialogue and setups and murders and kills, it changed the horror game. To have, within the first 5 minutes, your character on screen being asked what her favorite scary movie is actually brilliant in the most postmodernist way possible. So not only is it a deconstruction of the slasher film, it's an expansion on that pre-existing dialogue, that pre-existing filmic format. It's absolutely brilliant in that respect. So It's meta in that way. The first film tells you the rules of how to survive a horror movie. The second film explains to you the rules of how to survive a sequel. Body count's always bigger, more blood, more gore, carnage, candy. Your target audience just expects it. And in the third film, even by videotape, Randy, who, by the way, we are all Randy. If you are watching this video, you are Randy. You know you're Randy. You know you died in Scream 2, but you know that your film nerd ass could not stay behind while the trilogy concluded, and you sent in a videotape telling them how to survive a horror trilogy. It could be fucking Reservoir Dogs by the time this shit is through. God, what a great movie. And then the Scream 4 deconstructs the remake, which is incredibly prescient, incredibly of the now, of the here and the now. You forgot the first rule of remakes. don't fuck with the original. Oh, brilliant. Scream 4 was actually completely brilliant. Scream 3 is the weakest of the bunch, but oh, come on. It's a franchise. It's wonderful. And the MTV television show is my new obsession. So, well, because it's Degrassi High meets brutality. So, the meta. Introducing that self-referential dialogue, making them seem that they are in an anti-space where characters can almost be cognizant of the fact that at least they have an audience there. It's making the audience cognizant of the fact that they're watching a horror movie. And it's making the characters even that much more oblivious, and that much more meta, and that much more self-referential. It's completely wonderful. And that's a sophistication that was in art before this, of course, in Dadaism, in surrealist art, in the French New Wave. Godard and Truffaut popularized the idea of self-referential film. Fellini did it extraordinarily well when you would have characters break realism by staring directly into camera and literally posing for it, as if you're some sort of alien coming down and witnessing something that you shouldn't be. So meta is not just, it's not about nausea. That's the most basic way of viewing that concept, because it's a philosophical concept. It's a postmodern concept. It's a Michel Foucault, it's a Jacques Derrida concept of deconstruction. It's how you deconstruct the genre, is by being aware that the genre exists in the first place, and then playing on every single trope and identifying all the tropes while doing so. And Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson were incredibly clever enough to point out the tropes and then immediately fall directly into the tropes. So it's probably one of the most inspired deconstructions and one of the more successful deconstructions in the history of art. In the history of contemporary art, most certainly. The second piece of innovation that it did was the whodunit capacity, the whodunit effect. I'm never wondering who the killer is in Halloween. I know it's Michael Myers. I'm never wondering who Freddy is. I can see his face. I don't care. Maybe Black Christmas had this element, but you know it was Billy. You knew it wasn't any of the girls or the boyfriend. You know what I'm saying here. It was a whodunit. So not only is your film not about the boogeyman, but you actually know the killer. He has been on screen. He or she has been featured in the film as a possible victim. So while you're watching this, you're also having a very fun interplay with yourself of trying to figure out who the murderer is. And oftentimes it's two different people. So you have a 1 out of 2 chance of being correct, mostly. And it's absolutely phenomenal in that respect. It makes it that much more enjoyable. It actually adds to the deconstruction as well, because it's keeping you self-aware. Because you can't lose yourself in the film when you're constantly trying to outsmart it. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And the third most important thing it did applies specifically and solely, only, absolutely to Scream 1. This is probably the most innovative concept that Scream introduced. So, as I've said before, it's not about a boogeyman. It's about something far more complicated, something far more disturbing, something far more psychological. You're not supposed to be afraid of the boogeyman. You're not supposed to be afraid of this ghost face, this white, expressionless demon, goblin, fucking murderer. You're supposed to be petrified by your boyfriend and his dumb fuck, drooling, drunk friend, because they're psychopathic. And it's an extremely 90s concept. So we're going to break it down. We're going to go into it a little bit right now. So Billy Loomis, played by Johnny Depp look-alike Skeet Ulrich, very much so on purpose, and that adds to the meta, self-referential, self-awareness as well. Wes Craven casting somebody who looks very much like Johnny Depp, who first appeared in a feature film in Wes Craven's On a Nightmare on Elm Street. So that's Wes Craven being openly available to self-reference. But let's get into Billy's plan. A lot of people just want to gloss over Billy's plan and Billy's motives. They're actually maybe the most disturbing and fundamentally tactile. Like, I could reach out and I could touch this thing. They're tangible. I can actually imagine this happening. So, Billy Loomis, his grand plan consists of making Sidney fall in love with him, making her trust him, and then going out of his way Well, first of all, he starts murdering her friends and her own mother. This fucking psychopath is trying to destroy the Prescott family in the most deliriously damaged fucking way possible. Her own mother. Then he torments her, begins to kill all of her friends in order to set up her dad as the murderer. He kills all of her friends, and then he leaps bounds. This was a long game. Kill her mother, make the girl fall in love with you, defile her, take her purity, her virginity, make her fall in love with you, then start killing all of her friends, gain her trust, and then make her lose it? But then going out of his way to make her believe that he is the killer, therefore, and thereby, losing all trust in Billy. And then he makes her feel so shameful, so awful, about assuming, about thinking, when she had every right to think so, that Billy was the killer. Make her feel so awful, and make him into the greatest victim that the horror film has ever seen by being the sad, doubting, dutiful, wonderful boyfriend. And he wins her again. He makes her fall in love with him all over again. And it's by doing that, and that is how he tricks her into giving him her virginity, is through shame. He makes her give herself over to him, give him her most private self, her most private aspects of her nature, of her womanhood, to Billy. And he gets that through shame and through psychological abuse. And then he fakes his own death. He dies right in front of her. But of course, corn syrup, same stuff they use for pig's blood and Carrie. But of course, it's not real. But he makes her think that, and that's a crushing moment. And she just watched the love of her life, the man who took her virginity, be slashed and hacked right in front of her. And then he reveals himself as the murderer in an incredible reveal. And we're not done yet. Because then his dumb fuck boyfriend and him, they go on about how Sidney's mother, Maureen, slept with Billy's father. And that's why he has a broken home. Are you kidding me? That is the most 90s concept in the world. It's incredibly important that this film expressed this. He is the damaged male of the mid-90s. It is perfect. It is perfect. And we're not even done. His plan isn't even done yet. His torment of Sidney Prescott is not even close to finished, because then he and his dumb fuck best friend Stu, played remarkably well by the salivating, or that's kind, the drooling Matthew Lillard, they just start stabbing each other in the kitchen, just bleeding to death. Matthew Lillard's already gonna die from the wounds that Billy inflicted into him, because they're fucking psychopathic, because they're over masculine, they're over macho, they're aimless, and they're motherless. Oh my God, the poetry. It's absolutely incredible that you should be afraid of your boyfriend now. And because a lot of that psychological torment, a lot of that psychological torture, that punishment that he was inflicting on her was really incredibly nuanced. Because you don't absolutely realize the full totality of Billy's lunacy, of Billy's viciousness, of his derangement, before the entire damaged plan has come to fruition. And then you step back and you go, holy shit, Billy Loomis is one of the most evil characters, one of the most evil teenagers ever captured on film. Billy fucking Loomis. Which is also self-aware, because Donald Pleasance is Dr. Loomis. It all is a cycle of brilliant postmodern flares within this incredibly superficial, by nature, subgenre of a genre that has no critical respect whatsoever, especially not in the mid-90s. Point is, there is a poetry here. There is dynamism, and there is a very artful mastery going on. And it is equal. We must give genius an equal respects to Wes Craven and the writer, Kevin Williamson. We must. This is a compositional and conceptual masterwork. In fact, I would go so far as to posit that the lack of respect, the lack of cult respect that this series has, directly reflects the lack of sophistication among most die-hard horror fans. This is artful sophistication, and it's right in front of your fucking face. It's in the guise of trend. In fact, you fell for the most basic response to deconstructionism. You thought it was being faithful to its genre. This isn't a film about building something up. It's not about construction. It's the antithesis of that. This is about completely deconstructing something, about demolishing something, excavating the very character of the American youth horror audience. It's your anticipations that are on screen. And this film series doesn't even subvert them. It gives them to you. And you don't even think about how it was done, about how conceptually it speaks down to you. Oh my God, it's so brilliant. All of its concepts are telegraphed to you. All you have to do is be cognizant. Be as cognizant of the art as the art is of you. Be just as self-aware as Scream is. You have to meet its self-awareness. You have to meet that same hyper-intensity. The Scream franchise puts on a disguise. It masquerades as something so shallow when it's actually more intelligent than you will ever be. It's one of the smartest film franchises in the world. And superficially, it goes out of its way to make you think that it's stupid. Because it's secretly laughing at you. And for all the right reasons. And it's grinning wildly from the start, where it capitalizes on the pre-title card murder and turns it into a signature of the franchise, some sort of twisted pop art. It's incredible to have Drew Barrymore in your film for 10 glorious minutes. And by the way, that is actually petrifying. Her hanging from the tree like a fucking porcelain doll. Her not being able to speak loudly enough for her parents to hear her. It's actually petrifying. Oh my God, it's such an incredible series. And of course, spearheaded, led by Neve Campbell, who is fucking deliriously gorgeous. I would jump over the moon for her if given the opportunity. She's incredible. She's my ultimate scream queen. And she actually exuded a great amount of pathos, a great amount of pity in this role. And she was that scream queen undone, the scream queen destroyed, deconstructed, because we get to see inside the psychology of Sidney Prescott to where it's no longer enjoyable. This woman has been tortured, psychologically deformed by Billy Loomis, by these people who keep popping up in her life to try to make her into a perpetual victim. I mean, my God. It's like when you force a film noir hero, anti-hero to age, and you make the film noir anti-hero answer for his past, for everything that he did, everything that he ever committed inside of that gray area that film noir anti-heroes occupy. They're not supposed to do that. Scream queens aren't supposed to have to heal emotionally, because by definition of genre, that's never expressed. That's never demonstrated. You never have to show that. With Scream, they must, and they do, because you are forcing the Scream Queen to age. You are forcing the Scream Queen herself, Sidney, as played by Neve Campbell, to reflect. You are asking her to survive, and that's the one thing you ask of your Scream Queen, but no other horror film is sophisticated enough, has that raw sophistication to actually demonstrate just what the word survive actually means. what it entails, what it expresses about the human character. The word survivor shouldn't just be how you describe the last character standing. It should be an archetype. Wes Craven turned the idea of the Scream Queen into the archetype of the survivor. That's bloody fucking brilliant. Amazing. Wow. She's the most human character in horror films. Because she matures into an actual woman that has complexities. And has complexities in spite of her own genre. She's the most rebellious Scream Queen in the world because she's transformative. Scream Queens aren't supposed to transform. They're supposed to stay static and pretty. But not Sidney fucking Prescott, not Neve Campbell, not Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson's creation. In their world, the Scream Queen is a dynamic hero and a real fucking person. There are also other incredible performances. As I've stated earlier, if you're watching this video, you are Randy, you are Jamie Kennedy, and you know that you are. They finally put our nerdiness on screen and fucking stabbed us to death. Stabbed us like 1,000,000 times because we were being too fucking smart ass with our film knowledge. Oh my god. David Arquette and Courtney Cox, you actually get to see love organically form on screen. That's called movie magic. That's something you can't plan for, but that you can actually observe and experience. That also makes Scream special. I thought Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard were phenomenal. Rose McGowan is incredibly fun to look at. And she was great. Same with Sarah Michelle Gellar. A lot of incredibly fun to look at women in this series, in this franchise, because it's like watching the Breakfast Club get fucking clubbed to death. It's great. Timothy Olyphant as Mickey, the murderer of number 2. It's awesome. It's great. And that Scream 4, man, that's a fucking masterpiece. Scream 1 is the masterwork. It rises above the rest. Scream 4 is excellent. And that MTV Scream show, god fucking damn it, I'm obsessed. It is wonderful. Seriously, the Scream show pumps it up to fucking 11, though, with the Degrassi high, with the teenage melodrama. I am in there cracking up, I'm laughing, and I'm going, no, don't die, no, I like you. Like, it's really getting everything out of me. And it's staying true to the philosophy laid down by the original film. Because you have that character say, yeah, of course you could have The Walking Dead, but you can't make a slasher television show. The only way you could possibly do that is if you have murders with consequence. And that's another huge thing that the Scream franchise has been wonderful about. There are consequences, not only to dying, because the characters feel each character death that they're cognizant or made aware of in the narrative. They feel all of those, and they feel terribly bad about it. But there's also a consequence and a weight to surviving. We just talked about Randy. Yeah, let's go on. Let's talk about Jamie Kennedy's character. He was wonderful in this series. Let's talk about Randy. He survived. It's very odd, very funny that he survived the first Scream film. That completely defies genre tropes and subverts expectations right there by just having him survive. Your comic relief is alive? What? Okay, that's unexpected. Very low body count. But he lives. But there's a consequence to living. There's a consequence to being a character that is alive in a self-aware franchise that just got a sequel. The consequence is that you don't get lucky twice. The consequence is that although you miraculously lived through the first horrifying tale, you're going to have to come back. And you can't defy genre twice if you're the comic relief. The consequence to surviving a Scream film is dying. And the consequence of dying in a Scream film is pathos, is pity. Because I actually do feel something every time Randy gets pulled into that van. And it's horrifying. It truly is. But there's consequence in these films. There's actual sophistication and weight to human lives in these films. When people die, it matters. Because the people matter. Because they're written into such specific archetypes, to such specific character roles and definitions, that you know these people, because you know what's expected of their archetype, of their role, because you've seen this archetype or role in several other horror or teen films, and you have grown to identify subconsciously with those archetypes in a Jungian kind of way. So when they go, a part of you is going as well, which makes every killer the shadow archetype. And if Billy Loomis is not Sidney Prescott's shadow, then I don't know what would be more psychologically accurate. He is her in reverse. He didn't survive his broken home. He was destroyed by it. In every way that Sidney Prescott is strong, in every way that she possesses strength, Billy possesses weakness, and it manifests itself as carnage and sadism. These are archetypes lashing out at the genre that they find themselves in, that they occupy, that they have made popular. The consequence to dying as an archetype is being incredibly symbolic. The consequence of dying as an archetype in a horror film is that you turn into a symbol. You become symbolic. And every last character that gets brutalized in a Scream film is archetypal, which makes their deaths biblical. Incredibly symbolic in our own Americana iconography of gore. Talents like Neve Campbell, Rose McGowan, Timothy Olyphant, Jerry O'Connell, Liev Schreiber, Parker Posey, Emma Roberts gave their best work to this franchise. They really did. They were performances that oozed self-awareness, that oozed archetypal reasoning. And these films chose to express some very complicated and complex messages. It chose the language of popcorn to do that. It used the language of melodrama, of just surface level genre tropes to do this. And that's really incredible. I love this franchise. You might be wondering why this discussion is a solo discussion. I normally have someone with me, someone from the channel with me, be it David, Craig, or Joey, Ashley, but I don't. Not this time. Because I don't feel that anyone can really respect the kind of symbolic interplay and the fundamentally damaged aspects of all of these characters within the Scream franchise, but specifically Sidney Prescott and Billy Loomis. Billy Loomis, that Skeet Ulrich, oh my god, he has become one of my favorite Scream villains. And I believe I've defended my wild claims of its mastery, of his mastery, of the character's deeply disturbing pathology, psychology, and philosophy. His humanity. Because it's not there, because it's archetypal. Because it's horrifying. If your criticisms of Scream has to do with it being shallow, then you're completely overlooking the fact that it is terrifyingly shallow, and that is the point. If you can't recognize that Scream, the entire franchise, including the television series, is 100% absolutely masterful, then you haven't mastered the language of film. You haven't mastered film criticism or film theory. These are in got word salad, and I'm just shoving my words together. These are wildly entertaining films told within the limitations of a subgenre that is just wildly overlooked, that possesses the symbolism of a philosophy that is widely misinterpreted and underused. It is the ultimate postmodern horror film because of how successful that it was. It's absolutely genius. It looks like I've been talking for 30 minutes about Scream to nothing but a wall. So maybe I should end it here before I just start screaming myself and losing my mind even more. Am I in some kind of manic funk? Possibly. I love the Scream franchise. I love it. And I think I've been able to express why, and hopefully have made it so that you could look at this franchise as somewhat differently than how you may have looked at them in the past. Because they are wildly inventive, incredibly transformative, and astonishing. They are Wes Craven's, I think they're going to be his most enduring, most lasting films. And of course, this is the man who brought us Freddy Krueger. Scream is more important than that. A lot more important than that. My name is Zachary Conan. This is your first time at the channel. You should definitely like this video. You should share it if someone wants to hate watch it, or if you know a Scream fan. I don't know how many of us are out there. Share it. Also, definitely subscribe. That would be the coolest thing in the world that you could do right now. You should definitely do that. In the comments below, tell me what's your favorite scary movie. Tell me what your favorite Scream movie is. Tell me what you think about Scream. You know what? The DMs are open. The debate line is open and available. In the comments, tell me why you think I'm wrong. I don't think you can. This film franchise, this series is startlingly effective and makes very few errors and is completely faithful to its own disloyalty to horror, to the genre. And it's through that disloyalty that it expands the horror genre into something that I think Andy Warhol would certainly appreciate, because this is pop art. This is Marilyn Monroe's face plastered 1,000 times with her makeup smudged everywhere. It's different prints of the same archetype being transformed into a symbol of survival. It's rebellious and it's poignant. Rebellious and affecting. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great time. Yeah. Fucking Scream fucking rules, y'all.